Unspoken Issues.
I'm Jack Deth. I'm a trooper in the 23rd century.
Jack Deth, Angel City PD. May I see your stats?
What did I do?
Under Section 7 of the Penal Code, the Council authorized me to administer you a Trancer suspect examination.
You can't give me a TSE without a warrant.
I got your warrant right here, pal.
Okay. I don't want any trouble.
Hold out your...
My job is hunting Trancers.
I got nothing to hide.
Finding them, and singeing them.
Look out!
Of course, sometimes they find me first. Then it's a little more complicated.
How do you know Whistler's location?
We monitored a line disruption in Los Angeles, December 1985. Van Zandt, Ash, and I all had ancestors in the city then.
If you think I'm bringing that scum up the line, you got the wrong trooper.
Unless you stop Whistler, everything the Council has accomplished for the last 40 years will count for nothing.
Okay, let's say I believe this. You're a cop from the future and you're chasing this guy Piper.
Whistler.
Why doesn't he just turn you into one of these zombies? Or me?
Trancing only works on squids, people with weak minds, easily controlled. Lena, I'm from another time, another world. I don't even know what you people eat for lunch.
Okay, I got fried rice, egg rolls, and beef chow mein.
Beef? You mean like from a cow?
I thought it was rough in the 23rd century. I didn't know how hot it could get.
Jack?
How's my tan? It was getting hotter all the time.
Jack?
I guess I just attract a certain element no matter what century I'm in.
This way, mister!
Anyway, I gotta run now.
I want to ride with the lady.
Over here, Ashby!
And he's never even been here before. Trancers.
We're about to dive into the world of Trancers. I want to give you my brief history, personal history on Trancers first, and then currently am having Jim and I start some research on the movie. So once it's done, as I talk here, by the time I'm done talking, it'll probably be done. But you may not exactly know or have heard of the movie Trancers. If you're a science fiction fan, maybe you have. Trancers that I knew was a movie that came out, and I want to say it was the late 80s. I remember it sitting on the shelves at the video store, and I never was inclined to pick it up. And one day, I think it was on some cable television network, and for some reason, I distinctly remember watching it at my dad's. Well, it was just me downstairs hanging out watching TV, and it was I didn't understand fully what was going on in the movie, but I knew time travel was involved, and I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. From what I could remember, the main character, Jack Deth, played by Tim Thomerson, was a detective / cop from the future who time traveled back into his ancestor to catch a time traveling criminal. The way that you did it, if I remember correctly, was it was a process where they injected you with something and your consciousness went back in time. I clearly remember future weapons. Maybe when we get into the history of Trancers, I'll fully understand what's going on. I remember Helen Hunt being in it, and it was an action sci-fi flick. It was 1984 that the movie came out. But I didn't really like the first movie that much. It wasn't a repeat watch for me or anything. I saw it on the cable network that one time, so I kind of knew about it, but it wasn't something that made me go, oh my gosh. It's certainly not the Back to the Future for me. But then I started seeing the second Trancers sitting on the shelf at the video store. and then a third, and then a fourth. That's when I really started going, oh, wow, this actually looks pretty neat. Tim Thomerson continued to play the role of Jack Deth, and the Adventures, which is actually going to be the title of this comic. It got crazier each movie that it went on. And I think in the fourth film, I think it might have been the third and fourth film, were actually a two-parter. He was hopping dimensions or alternate realities, which was pretty cool. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, wow, this is actually starting to get pretty neat. But it's been so long since I've watched the films. I'd love to revisit them. I think I watched the first one within the last 10 years, and that was for the second time. But I have all of them sitting here on my computer. I just have not had a chance to sit down and watch all of them again. That brings me to what we're going to be covering tonight, a 1991 comic from Eternity, the Eternity imprint, published by Malibu, titled Trancers, The Adventures of Jack Deth. And I'll give you the creative team here. Script by S.A. Bennett, Carlello artwork. Carlello on the artwork and cover painting, In Color on coloring, Ken Leach on lettering, and that's it. You're going to recognize some names here, though. Dave Ulrich was the publisher, and we have a foreword here on this comic by Tom Mason. A couple of those names you'll probably recognize from the upcoming Ultraverse. That's right, the Malibu Ultraverse. Let's talk before we get into the comic itself and the preamble here. I want to give you a history that Jim and I came up here, a history of Trancers from 1984. So it starts out, he's got dry hair. That's one of the signs. In the dystopian future of 2247, a grizzled cop named Jack Deth utters these words as he prepares to confront a mind-controlled zombie known as a Trancer. This iconic scene from the 1984 cult classic Trancers perfectly encapsulates the film's unique blend of hard-boiled action, gritty science fiction, and offbeat humor. Trancers is a film that has defied its low-budget origins to become a beloved favorite among fans of cult cinema and 80s nostalgia. This article dives deep into the history of Trancers, exploring its production, reception, sequels, and lasting impact on popular culture. In the futuristic metropolis of Angel City, Jack Deth, played by Tim Thomerson, a hardened police trooper, is on the hunt for Martin Whistler, played by Michael Stefani, a rogue psychic with the power to transform people into mindless, zombie-like trancers. Whistler escapes capture by using a drug-induced method of time travel, sending his consciousness back to 1985 Los Angeles to inhabit the body of an ancestor. Deth is tasked with pursuing Whistler through time to prevent him from assassinating the ancestors of the ruling council, a move that would erase their descendants from existence and allow Whistler to seize control. Deth travels back in time and finds himself in the body of his ancestor, Phil Dethton. He soon crosses paths with Lena, played by Helen Hunt, a punk rocker who becomes his unlikely ally in this battle across time. Deth must navigate the unfamiliar world of 1980s Los Angeles while battling Trancers and trying to track down Whistler. Along the way, he encounters a colorful cast of characters, including a skeptical detective, played by Art LaFleur, a helpful engineer, Thelma Hopkins, and even a Trancer-fied Santa Claus. Trancers was a brainchild of Charles Band, a filmmaker with a passion for genre cinema. Band, known for his work on horror and science fiction films, founded Empire Pictures and later Full Moon Features. That's a well-known studio that specialized in bringing low-budget genre films to life. Band directed Trancers and served as its producer. The screenplay was penned by Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, a writing duo who would later achieve mainstream success with The Rocketeer. The script for Trancers cleverly blended elements of classic film noir with time travel tropes and zombie movie thrills, creating a unique and engaging narrative. One of the most remarkable aspects of Trancers is how much the filmmakers accomplished with limited resources. Made on a budget of roughly $400,000, the film boasts impressive visuals and creative special effects. This resourcefulness is evident in the film's distinctively retro-futuristic aesthetic, neon-drenched cityscapes, and imaginative technology. The filmmakers maximized their budget by employing practical effects and clever camera work, resulting in a visually striking film that belies its modest origins. The casting of Trancers proved to be one of its greatest strengths. Tim Thomerson, a seasoned actor with a background in stand-up comedy, perfectly embodies the gruff, wisecracking Jack Deth. Thomerson's performance brings a charismatic edge to the character, balancing Deth's world weariness with a dry wit that makes him instantly likable. He is joined by a young Helen Hunt, who delivers a spirited performance as Lena, Deth's energetic and resourceful partner. The chemistry between Thomerson and Hunt is undeniable, adding another layer of enjoyment to the film. The supporting cast is filled with talented actors, including Michael Stefani as the menacing Whistler, Art LaFleur as the skeptical McNulty, and Thelma Hopkins as the tech-savvy Ruthie Raines. Interestingly, the role of Chairman Ash was initially offered to Bette Davis, but ultimately went to Ann Seymour. Unfortunately, Seymour experienced difficulties remembering her lines, leading to a reduction in her screen time. Adding to the film's behind-the-scenes trivia, it's worth noting that actor Biff Maynard, who plays the eccentric Hap Ashby, was reportedly drunk during filming. The anecdote adds a humorous layer to the production and perhaps explains why some of Ashby's more unpredictable behavior occurs in the film. Trancers premieres in the United Kingdom on November 7th, 1984, before making its way to U.S. theaters on May 22nd, 1985. Despite its creative premise and strong performances, the film did not achieve significant box office success. This was likely due to a limited theatrical release and a less-than-ideal distribution that hampered its wider exposure. Critical reception was initially mixed, with some reviewers praising the film's originality and entertainment value, while others criticized its low-budget production and perceived similarities to other science fiction films of the era. Creature Feature magazine, for example, gave the film 2 stars, acknowledging its messy plot, but noting that some of the sequels were superior. However, over time, Trancers gradually gained recognition for its unique qualities and began to cultivate a devoted following. The film's blend of genres, memorable characters, and Thomerson's charismatic performance resonated with audiences, solidifying its status as a cult classic. It's worth noting that even renowned filmmaker James Cameron was a fan of Trancers. He subsequently recommended Bilson and DeMeo for other projects. Trancers has been released on various home media formats over the years, ensuring its accessibility to fans. Following its initial release, it became available on VHS and Laserdisc in 1985, catering to the popular formats of the time. As technology evolved, Trancers was released on DVD in 2000, allowing a new generation of viewers to discover its charms. A Blu-ray edition followed in 2014, offering improved picture quality and bonus features. Most recently, a 2-disc collector's edition was released on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray in 2022, providing the ultimate viewing experience for dedicated fans. This edition includes a director's commentary, the Trancers City of Lost Angels short film, behind-the-scenes featurettes, and other bonus materials. As far as the cultural impact goes, Trancers has left an indelible mark on popular culture, particularly within the realm of science fiction and cult films. Its unique time travel concept involving the transfer of consciousness into the bodies of ancestors has been compared to later works like the popular television series Quantum Leap. The film's gritty, film noir-inspired aesthetic, combined with its futuristic setting, has also influenced other filmmakers, demonstrating its lasting impact on the genre. The film's influence can be seen in unexpected places. One intriguing theory suggests that a scene in Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut from 1999 may be a subtle nod to Trancers. In this scene, the costume shop owner's daughter, played by Lily Sobieski, who looks a lot like Helen Hunt. I remember seeing a few movies of hers going, holy crap, that looks like a young Helen Hunt. Sure enough, the costume shop owner's daughter, played by Lily Sobieski, bears a striking resemblance to Helen Hunt, and the use of neon lighting in the scene evokes a visual style of Trancers. Sounds like a pretty far reach, but whatever. This connection, while speculative, highlights the film's enduring presence in the minds of filmmakers and cinephiles. The modest success of Trancers spawned a franchise that extended across 5 sequels, so maybe we did get to 5. The first sequel, Trancers 2, The Return of Jack Deth, arrived in 1991 as a direct-to-video release. This sequel picks up where the original left off, with Jack Deth facing new Trancer threats and reuniting with Lena. Now, I have a movie poster of that film that I got at an auction. It is one of my prized possessions. It probably hung up in a video store, but it was in great shape. So I have it rolled up and sitting somewhere safe. Trancers 3, Deth Lives from 1992 continued the story with Deth battling Trancers in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The franchise took a turn with Trancers 4, Jack of Swords from 1994 and Trancers 5, Sudden Death. By the way, Death spelled D-E-T-H. From 1994 as well, which transported Deth to a medieval-inspired parallel world called Orpheus. These sequels introduced new characters and storylines while retaining the core elements of the Trancers universe. I thought that was such a cool concept, throwing him into a parallel universe. And I remember watching the films and being like, hey, this is actually not too bad. And I'm pretty sure I finished 4 and 5, and it's great that both of them got released in 94. I would have been 16 at that point, had my own car, probably had my own membership at the gas station to rent movies. But this one, the final installment, Trancers 6 in 2002, I didn't see. It brought Deth back to the familiar setting of Angel City, but with a twist. His consciousness is transferred into the body of a female descendant. I think I saw a trailer for it. I was going through Full Moon Features on Amazon one day, and I did nothing but sit there for an hour and go through all of the Trancers trailers. And I remember seeing this trailer, I'm pretty sure, and there is some CGI in 2002 that would make you go, oh goodness, Full Moon, what is going on? In addition to the sequels, a short film called Trancers City of Los Angeles was produced between the first and second films. Originally intended for an anthology film called Pulse Pounders, this 24-minute short was eventually released on its own. It features Jack Deth battling a female assassin in 1980s Los Angeles and provides further insight into his character and relationship with Lena. The Trancers universe also expanded into the realm of comic books. Eternity Comics published a 2-issue miniseries in 1991 titled Trancers, The Adventures of Jack Deth, featuring new stories based on the first 2 films. In 2015, Action Lab released a 3-issue miniseries titled Full Moon Presents Trancers, further exploring the world of Jack Deth and his Trancer hunting exploits. While the quality of the sequels and spin-offs are varied, they have collectively contributed to the enduring legacy of the Trancers franchise. Tim Thomerson reprised this role as Jack Deth in all but the 6th film, providing a sense of continuity and fan service throughout the series. Interestingly, one critic considers the 24-minute Trancers City of Los Angeles to be the best of the sequels, praising it for its action sequences and character development. In conclusion, Trancers stands as a testament to the ingenuity and creativity that can flourish even within the constraints of low-budget filmmaking. Director Charles Band and his team managed to craft a visually distinctive and thoroughly entertaining film that has resonated with audiences for decades. The film's success lies in its clever blending of genres, its memorable characters, and Tim Thomerson's iconic performance as Jack Deth. While the sequels and spin-offs may not have reached the same heights as the original, they have served to expand the Trancers universe and keep the franchise alive. The film's cultural impact is undeniable, with its influence evident in later works of science fiction and its enduring popularity among cult film enthusiasts. Trancers is a film that continues to entertain and surprise, offering a unique blend of action, humor, and nostalgic charm. Its legacy as a cult classic is secure. Its quirky hero, Jack Deth, remains a beloved figure in the annals of science fiction cinema. All right, let's get to the issue here. We're going to do both issues. So sit back, relax, and experience in truncated time my live experience reading both issues of Trancers from 1991 and their Eternity Comics run here. Let me read the foreword here from Tom Mason. Tom says, following the name change from its original title of Future Cop, Trancers, written by Rocketeers Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, enjoyed a brief theatrical run back in 1985. Tim Thomerson starred as Jack Deth, a time traveler from the future inhabiting the body of his 20th century ancestor while tracking down the notorious Whistler. Responsible for the death of Deth's wife, try saying that 3 times fast, Whistler had journeyed to the present to change the future to his advantage, specifically to rid himself of anyone who caused him grief in the future. Helen Hunt co-starred as Jack's love interest. That brief theatrical run would have been the end of the Trancer story if it hadn't been for video. Released on tape at the dawn of the video revolution, the movie caught fire with retailers and a solid core of fans. It also helped that the movie was a favorite of producer-director Charles Band. When Band started Full Moon Entertainment, one of the first projects to get a green light was Trancers 2. Originally conceived as one part of a video anthology, Trancers 2 was expanded to feature length and not a minute too soon for fans of Jack Deth. Thomerson returns as the movie's hero, as does Helen Hunt, this time no longer his girlfriend, but his wife. Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, both from Reanimator, co-star. Trouble is, Jack's wife from the future shows up to complicate matters, as does the sinister Dr. Wardo, the brother of Whistler, Deth's nemesis from the first movie. This summer, as part of the ongoing relationship between Full Moon and Eternity Comics, Trancers 2 debuts as both a movie and a full-color comic. Be seeing you, Tom Mason. Here we go. Tom Mason just brought us in to Trancers, The Adventures of Jack Deth. We had learned earlier that Trancers 2 was coming out this same year. It sounds like Tom Mason is trying to say this is an adaptation of the second film. It's been forever since I've seen the second film, so if, as we're going through this, stuff starts to ring true, then I'll definitely let you know. Most likely, the last time I watched Trancers 2 was over 30 years ago. Let's see what's about to happen here in Trancers, The Adventures of Jack Deth. So Eternity Comics selling this comic for $2.50, $3 Canadian. It might be a big boy. We're gonna start things in Angel City, 2247. The home of the Trancers is called Hell A. First page, I'm already making parallels to what's happening right now. We're 34 years after this comic was written. Jack Deth, apparently part of the Trancer Elimination Unit, or for short, TE. It looks like him and the squad are heading into the Trancers headquarters to go take him out. Yeah, so this is probably going to recap some of the first movie, because he's trying to track down Whistler. So I feel like this might be a flashback. Whistler, a deranged history professor and psychic vampire. Interesting skill set. So it says that, it's talking about Whistler, and he's saying that he's gone down the line and taken a cache of heaters with him. Now see, there's one thing that kind of bugs me sometimes when you get into time travel and science fiction. You got to have a good explanation for the physics of what's going on. And what I mean by that is like, okay, Terminator 2, all right? They can send machines back, but they have to be coded in, or at least be able to emulate a human. So they have to be covered in a human skin analog and have to be naked when they go back in time. That's a weird mechanic to have, but it's a mechanic nonetheless. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's building your world, right? Nothing out of the ordinary other than the time travel aspect that just doesn't make sense. Marty McFly has to get in the DeLorean in order to travel back in time. Anything in the DeLorean goes back in time with them, right? If they're using some kind of serum or whatever to send people's consciousness back in time, how are they taking guns? When they say he's taking a cache of heaters with him, I assume that means his consciousness is somehow taking back the guns. Now you lost me a little bit. And I remember that sticking with me a little bit in the beginning. But let's see if they talk about that. So yeah, Whistler sent his consciousness back in time, but his body is lying on a gurney, and the units found the body. Jack Deth just walks up to the body and shoots it and says, okay, that's the end of that. But the rest of the unit are like, what are you doing? Now we can't bring him back. So Deth gets summoned to the council, and they're going to send him down the line to go catch Whistler and eliminate him. Now, again, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I don't know if this is how the movie opens up, because now the council's saying they've tracked him to 1991, and they need to send Jack back in time to 1991 to go catch him. That's not what I think happened in the first movie. He sent him back to the 80s. Oh, I think I figured it out. So this is kind of backwards from Terminator. They cannot send humans back in time, but they can transport their consciousness back there, but they have no problem apparently sending weaponry. So gadgets can be sent back, but humans cannot. They say the technology Whistler took can destroy both the past and present. You must stop him. Interesting. Ruthie, who is his friend, gave him a watch, and she says it's got a long second, but you only get one use, then it needs to recharge. It's a temporal displacement sequence for the wearer. 1 second becomes 10 and the world stops. Well, that's going to be something he uses to get out of a jam, or maybe even used at the end. Now he's being transported back in time to his ancestor Philip Deth, the body of a journalist in 1991. Okay, so he's gone back in time, and I remember reading in the Gemini report that he's married to Lena. So the events of the first movie happened, and they got together, and now they've sent his consciousness back into Philip. Lena's here. He just woke up, and she's asking him if he's okay. And he's like, yeah. I feel like the first movie didn't happen or something. It's just weird. Oh, he's not married to Lena here. She says she just met him last night. One of the things about Thomerson and his portrayal of death, I remember, is just how direct and the phrase hard-boiled was used. And yeah, he's rough around the edges. All right, so we catch up with Whistler, who is transported back in time into the body of one of the ancestors of the council. His goal is to remove some of the council members. His ancestor is a councilman, but he already knows that Jack Deth is after him. So he's got Lena by the arm. He's taking her down. She's not exactly buying everything that Jack is saying, because he's telling her all about it. He's like, look, I'm not Phil, I'm Jack. I'm here to stop Whistler, blah, blah, blah. You're coming with me. Grabs her arm, goes down to the elevator, and gets on the elevator, and she starts screaming about how he's trying to kidnap her. I don't know if she's yelling that Deth is trying to kidnap her. I think so. But it just so happens the people on the elevator are Trancers. So I assume Whistler's got to him, and there's a gunfight. Deth's using his laser gun. The Trancer has Deth up against the wall. Nothing clever to say, trooper. And Jack goes, yeah, I've got a pistol in my pocket, and I'm not happy to see you. And he shoots him. Lena's starting to fight back here. Well, they finally reach the ground floor. They've taken care of everybody in there. Lena has no problem going with Jack after seeing all of this go down. The doors open. They leave. Now, remember, I think it says that when they get killed, like they burn up or something. And so the doors open, and there's people waiting to get on the elevator, and there are these bodies burning on the elevator, and these horrified citizens or tenants of this apartment complex are seeing this happen. And Jack and Lena just walk out, and Lena's like, shame how they're letting the upkeep of the building go. You're walking away from a horrific murder. All right. And Councilman Westlake, or Whistler, is upset that Jack Deth still lives, but he's got a crew of people that are willing to take him out. Lieutenant McNulty has come down from the future into his ancestor. A young girl meets up with Jack and says she's got info on what's going on. Lena's like, doesn't know what in the world's going on here. Oh, Whistler, I guess, is selling this advanced technology from the future to German arms dealers. Lena's like, I've got a map. I can show you where this is at, because supposedly Lieutenant McNulty gave them an address. And Lena's like, I can show you where it is on a map. And he's like, no good. Paper maps, print maps have not been used in over 100 years. Now, I know paper maps still exist now in 2025, but when's the last time you used a paper map? I actually was going to buy one over the Christmas season. There was a map that I was like, oh, look at this. This is neat. My mom, for some reason, uses a print map, and I don't understand why. I can remember back in the days, actually, when this comic book was probably coming out, shortly thereafter, and like 2 or 3 years after, getting on MapQuest and printing out directions, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. You had directions printed out on a piece of paper that told you to get from point A to point B, and I thought that was the neatest thing ever. Printed off of a computer. You didn't actually need to see the map. You had step-by-step directions on what to do. Now it's all GPS. Everybody has something on their phone that can tell you where you're at. Life 360, Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever it's called. But nobody uses print maps anymore. So I say we're ahead of schedule there, Jack Deth. Jack is extremely excited to drive Phil's classic convertible, because he hasn't had a chance to do anything like that in the future. A heater. So a heater is a gun that projects a blast of superheated energy plasma. And these are the guns that he is trying to sell to the Germans. It's powered by a tiny nuclear fission reactor, providing an endless supply of energy. Get out of the gun business, lady. Buy this stuff and figure out how to reverse that technology to save all your energy woes. Jack Deth shows up at the arms deal. Whistler's buddies are waiting on him. They've got guns pointed on him and bring them both inside as prisoners. Whistler's plan is to change history. I plan to reweave the fabric of reality to suit my purpose. Selling these arms, he says, first there will be waves of unstoppable criminals and terrorists. A commando unit with a handful of these could destroy a small country. Inevitably, one of the current superpowers will capture a unit, copy the technology, and mass produce them. The balance of power will be forever changed, and an already bloody age will become a killing field on a planetary scale. Chaos will result, which I will exploit. Why possess people when I can control the destinies of nations? Oh, they're lining them up against the wall. They're getting ready to kill him. As Lena looks on, frightened, Jack reaches down and touches his watch and activates the long second. Just in time to pull Lena out of the way and disarm the opposition. So Deth is going to set these guns to overload and get the heck out, cause this massive explosion. So I think Whistler left, but he's speaking through his Trancers here, and he's pretty mad. Jack and Lena get the heck out of Dodge, jump into the car and get out of there, and all of a sudden the building explodes. I assume killing all of the German arms dealers and all of Whistler's men as well. McNulty shows up, still in the form of the little girl, and explains that in order to prevent Whistler from getting any additional technology, they are somehow stopping time travel from happening. So I think Lieutenant McNulty is going back to the future. Cue the music. And she tells Deth that he's stranded there until he can take care of Whistler. And that's where we end issue 1, it looks like. There's the poster I'm talking about. Full Moon Features poster. The Future Cop is back. Trancers 2. The Return of Jack Deth. Helen Hunt sitting there with a shotgun on his right arm. I don't know who that is on the left. She's got a pistol. We'll probably find out next issue. Okay, well, that was issue 1. So Jack takes care of Whistler's crew, but Whistler is still on the loose, and he is stranded back in 1991.
My name's Jack Deth. I'm a Trancer hunter from the 21st century. It's been 7 years since I went down the line to old California. Life's been good. I thought I'd singe my last Trancer, but nothing lasts forever.
Jack! Vacation's over, Jack. Time to get off your butt and go back to work.
Rabbit, listen to me. I need your help. I'm a special agent on a mission from the future.
I know just how you feel. You're going to be expelled from the Green World community. Do you know what that means?
Help me, please. I'm on a mission.
I think you are?
Stillwell, Alice B.
Welcome to old California, Alice. I'm your husband, Jack Deth.
Oh my God, Jack, it is you. The only man I ever had sex with.
Isn't that bad?
Get the activists out on the streets. I want fresh blood.
We did it, Jack. We scorched another one. Oh, God, how I'd like to make love to you right now.
Jack, you son of a bitch!
Lena, don't jump to conclusions.
You're the one doing all the jumping, Jack.
Why does she keep butting in on us?
Because I happen to be his wife.
So am I.
Ladies, please. Lena, she's my wife. Her consciousness is in another body. She's a Trancer hunter, too.
I've had to handle a lot being married to someone from the future, Jack, but 2 wives?
You're in the way, Lena.
I want Jack Deth to see his wife become a Trancer.
They've got Lena. You know the layout well enough to go in after her?
Yeah, but it won't be easy.
Can you hear me, Jack Deth? It'll be fun watching you burn to death.
Trancers 2, starring Tim Thomerson of Near Dark, Helen Hunt from Next of Kin, Megan Ward of Crash and Burn, Richard Lynch of The Sword and the Sorcerer, and Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator. Trancers 2, The Return of Jack Deth.
Jack, the 20th century must be getting to you.
You have no idea.
Coming this August to video stores everywhere.
All right, before we hop into issue 2, I'm confused in regards to the timeline here, but maybe this is a situation where they're just kind of rehashing what happened in the first movie, or giving us, his first encounter with Whistler. That's where we started with this comic. They sent him back to 1991, though. So let's look and see what issue 2 is going to be. Tom Mason comes back here with a little bit of words for us at the beginning of the book. I'll read this. The Once and Future Cop. I love genre movies, which is why I always look forward to the latest full moon production. Trancers, Trancers 2, Crash and Burn, and Shadow Zone all share good scripts, good casts, making the most of a limited budget, and just as important, respect for the intelligence of the viewer. I'm pausing right here because I recognize the first 2 movies, Crash and Burn and Shadow Zone. I'm heading to YouTube. I've got to see these. So Crash and Burn Full Moon. Let's see if we can find a trailer.
In the year 2035, a corporate power will rule our nation with terror. Using a secret army of synthetic humans, they will destroy all who oppose them. But a small outpost of rebels will fight their killing machines. By reviving a weapon from their past, they will wage the final battle for our future. Crash and Burn.
Whoa. That feels very much like a Terminator-inspired type story, synthetic humans, and then they have this massive mech in this thing. All right, so anyway, yeah, that looked cool. Let's take a look at Shadow Zone, which is a good Static X song, by the way. Let's see what we got. Here's the official trailer. Oh, goodness, this looks scary.
Project Shadow Zone, Captain Hickok.
In the dark of a lifeless sleep.
By taking subjects beyond normal levels of dream state sleep,
a research team
we discovered that a parallel dimension exists.
Is exploring the world beyond dreams.
There's something I think you should see.
What is it?
I don't know.
Someone's trying to gain entry to the project.
It's a shadowy realm where science ends.
This is very dangerous.
It's coming out of the darkness.
Do something!
I can't. Something's overriding the program.
Yeah. Where your darkest fears are given life.
It can assume the physical nature of human thought.
Become any size, any shape it wants.
It became what Kidwell was looking for.
Where the distance between sleep and death
There's no way out.
Is just a nightmare away. Louise Fletcher, James Hong, Sean Weatherly, Shadow Zone.
The movie has to have a point in it where it goes, we've entered a shadow zone. And Static X straight up took that and put that in the song. I don't know what I just watched there. All I know is that the color tone of the movie was like all red. I don't know what's going on. It kept talking about dreams. And boy, I don't know. This movie, does it say when it released? 1990. Directed by J.S. Cardone. Let's read the description here. Beyond Alien, Beyond the Thing. So they're talking about the movies Alien and The Thing. On the dark side of dreams, a new terror takes shape. Okay, let me piece that together. On the dark side of dreams, so we're talking Freddy Krueger. There's been a gruesome death at Project Shadow Zone. But that's just the beginning. A group of NASA hypersleep researchers are conducting tests in an abandoned underground facility in the Nevada desert. All sorts of crazy stuff happens there. One subject has died during the test, and NASA has sent Captain Hickok, David Beecroft, to investigate. What he finds is more horrific than the death itself. The scientists, guided by Dr. Earhart, Louise Fletcher, and Dr. Van Fleet, James Hong, you might recognize that name, have broken the boundaries of dream state sleep and tapped into a parallel dimension. The deadly error brings forth an alien life form that decides to stay and prey. The alien being can consume any life form at once and becomes each person's deepest, darkest fear. When only Hickok and Dr. Earhart survive the deadly rampage, they must confront the unrelenting intruder and find a way out of the Shadow Zone. That actually sounds like a really cool concept. I'm sure it did not get implemented on a very big budget. I like the idea. There does seem to be a lot happening there, but dang, that's a pretty cool idea for a movie that probably went direct to VHS in 1990. Anyway, back to the letter, as Tom Mason was talking here. Please be aware that this 2-part miniseries hasn't been a direct adaptation of either Trancers or Trancers 2. Could you have told me that at the beginning? I'm certain I didn't miss that, because I was confused. It hasn't been a direct adaptation of either Trancers or Trancers 2, which should be in your video store soon, but rather an adaptation of the characters and situations so the comic book series could be ongoing. I'd certainly like to see further adventures of Jack Deth. How about you? S.A. Bennett. I would have loved to have had that explained at the beginning, like, hey guys, just a heads up, we're reimagining what happened with Jack and Whistler from the first movie. How much of my previous confusion could have been edited out of this thing? Let me read the rest of this here. This is what I get for reading these live. All right, anyway, I'll get to that here in a second. In addition to Trancers, Malibu Graphics, under its Eternity imprint, publishes a number of comic books based on other Full Moon features, including Subspecies, Puppet Master, Doll Man, and the upcoming Dangerous Toys and Arcade. For a complete catalog, write to, and it gives us Malibu Graphics address here. Puppet Master and Doll Man, and I don't think Dangerous Toys. I know for sure Doll Man. Puppet Master and Doll Man, all Tim Thomerson vehicles there. Last issue, we inadvertently credited the wrong artist for the cover. For Trancers number 1, the cover was penciled and inked by Stephen Butler. The coloring was by Tom Smith. Apologies to all. Can we still be friends? Tom Mason. All right, let's take a look and see if they've got our credits correct here. So again, on the script, S.A. Bennett. I can't tell if that's Cartello or Carlello. I'm going to go with Cartello on the art. Stephen Butler on the cover. Tom Smith, cover coloring. In color for coloring inside the issue. And Ken Leach, letters, Dave Olbrich, publisher. Here we go. We're getting into issue 2, which I assume is going to be a loose adaptation of the second film. Oh no. Jack Deth is currently in a mental health facility called Caretaker Estates. He tried to take over Phil's journalistic responsibilities at the paper. That didn't work out. Phil's mom and brother showed up and called in this hospital for behavior modification. Deth fought back. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on here. They dropped him with some tasers and hauled him off to the mental health hospital. They've taken him out to the ward and put him with the rest of the other patients, and he's getting to meet Earl and Shandy, who are patients there. Lena has showed up at the hospital and is now advocating to get Deth out of there, telling the staff and Phil's mom and brother that there's nothing wrong. He must have been telling people, or they found out that he's going by Jack Deth. It wouldn't surprise me if Jack was telling people, hey, I'm not Phil anymore, I'm Jack. Thinking that would go over well, because Phil's mom's like, this Jack Deth fantasy of his is a sickness, and you're part of it. She walks out and says, okay, Miss Deth, you help Phil, I'll help Jack. Oh, there's Whistler. Whistler is paying him a visit. Oh, these two friends he's made, they saw Whistler, but the staff that came to collect Deth and take him to see Dr. Sachs did not see Whistler. So something's going on there, and they actually seem like they know Whistler for some reason. Okay, so we're recapping what happened in issue 1 because the doctor, Dr. Sachs, is asking Jack to explain why he looks like Phil Deth if he supposedly is not Phil Deth. And he goes through the whole explanation of what happened. She says she's going to help him out by giving him a biochip. a microchip with organic material, and it's implanted directly in the brain. Oh, they're getting ready to put him under for the procedure, and he starts to see Whistler, but nobody else can see him. The doctor's like, there is no Whistler. And Whistler's like, they don't see me because I've told them not to. Whistler says they are Trancers, but very special Trancers. Ooh. Lena has secured a nurse's outfit and is going into the facility. Lena has run into Jack's two friends that were patients, and she's asking to see where he's at and see if they possibly know, and they say he's going to the operating room. Okay, so this is an interesting villainous plot. Whistler's going to take these chips, and since there are people that can resist his psychic takeover if they have a strong will, these chips will eliminate free will, plus he's only able to control a few Trancers at a time. With implants, anyone with mental or emotional problems can be taken over. And he says millions of respected professionals who show no signs of illness because they control it, as I'll control them. And neo-trancers last much longer, so I can place them in positions of authority. And thanks to an analog device I interface with, I can control dozens of them simultaneously. Okay, so he's back to trying to control people and influence people to take over the world, or at least further his villainous plot. So I think Whistler has eliminated the zombie problem, maybe? I didn't really understand much of the process at the beginning other than Whistler can psychically control people. Deth was calling him a psychic vampire, so he can control people psychically, but it drains their life. Now with these chips, apparently he can just control people whenever he needs to. They last a lot longer, so he's not draining them as much. He's done this already to a bunch of patients, and he's showing Jack like how he can take over them, and he plans to use them to like do whatever he needs them to do. And because they're mentally ill, it's a perfect thing that they can blame. So Deth passes out, wakes up in the operating room. They're getting ready to put the chip in him. Just as they're about to cut into him, here comes Lena. She's got a heater in her hand, socks the doctor, and gets Jack up off the table. They run into his friends outside, and he checks the back of their necks and says that they're clean. This girl patient, she's always talking about being an actress and how she was on drugs. When he says that they're clean, she's like, thanks for noticing. But then she says, I was in a movie where a beautiful actress was being driven insane inside an asylum. Whistler's really mad now that Deth escaped, so he's taking it out on Dr. Sachs. Whistler has activated the mental patients to go after Deth. And the staff. Oh, and here they come. Deth is zapping him with his heater, but he stops because he realizes that now that this process is slower, he can save some of these people. So he decides to look for this device that supposedly can control these implants and destroy it. Oh, and he's still got the 1 second watch. That's right. I guess this thing recharges every 24 hours. So as all of these patients and staff are coming after him, he hits the watch and he starts looking for the control room as fast as he can so he doesn't have to kill a dozen innocent people. And sure enough, he finds it. Blows it to smithereens, and everybody's okay. And they're trying to figure out a way out. And they run into Dr. Sachs, and he asks her, where's Whistler? Oh, and it turns out she's a Trancer. Jack pulls his gun. Boom. And that's the end. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, it looks like Lena and Jack decide to head home, and Jack says, make sure to leave on the outfit. I like historical costumes. Become a Full Moon fanatic. Join the Full Moon family in a new exciting way, introducing the Full Moon Fan Club. For years, you've enjoyed our movies and inquired about our inner workings. Now you can get the inside scoop. Your $20 membership fee will include a free official company t-shirt, as shown in our full color catalog, our quarterly newsletter, and special Full Moon promotional items available through our catalog and a membership card. Well, there you go. That's the end of that. So let's just double check and make sure there's no other issues. Let's head to Mike's Amazing World and see what we got there, because I feel like there was a grander design here. I mean, it feels like it anyway. The inside cover of the first issue says Trancers #1 of 2. So that was it. I don't think there was a mention of ongoing, but clearly at the beginning here, first issue, they knew it was just going to be issue 1 of 2. So I think their use of the term ongoing is a bit different than I would have used it. Let's just double check something. Trancers. Yeah, they got 2 instances of Trancers there. August of 91 and September of 91. Both released in the first week of each month. So Whistler's still on the loose. Cartello or Carlello, whichever we're going with here. The art was okay. It's the early 90s, and 1 year from this, we're going to start getting to Image comics. So this was not Image art. Let's see if we can find some credits for the artist here on Mike's Amazing World. Nope. Well, let's see if there is anything when I do a search for Cartello. We want creator. Nothing. Maybe it's Carlello. Oh, well, let's throw that in the first name, because there's only one name. I don't know if it's first or last. No Cartello first name. Let's try Carlello. Watch it be a situation where I am completely mispronouncing the last name, and it might be Carleo. Is it 2 words? That's definitely 1 word. I don't know. I wonder what else. I mean, I'd like to see all they have as far as artist goes on the site that I'm looking at. They have Stephen D. Butler. Let's head to one more spot. Let's go to Grand Comics Database just to see if they've got anything in there. Trancers. I want to know if this guy did anything else. All right, let's click on that. Nope. Carlello is not a name that I can click on. I wonder if this is his only work. Interesting. S.A. Bennett, just to kind of click on his name and give you an idea of what we got there. The biography, it says S.A. Bennett is a prose and comics writer. In the late 1980s and early 90s, he published in comics from Malibu. He wrote The Rovers from 87 to 88, Shuriken 1991, and appeared in a few other comics. Looks like he has a real short run in comics according to this. It's all Malibu. It's The Rovers, The New Humans, issue number 2, The Rovers, Hellbender, Shuriken, Trancers, The Great American Comic Book from Ocean Comics in 92, and Digital Webbing Presents from 2006. Maybe that's an anthology. Looks like his writing just covers that short amount of time. Huh. Well, in conclusion, the comic book kind of left me a little like the movie did. Specifically, Trancers 1. Cool concept, fair execution, left me wanting more. Thanks for joining me on this trip back to the early 90s to talk about Trancers, The Adventures of Jack Deth. I'll throw the plugs in here at the end. With that being said, I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. Unspoken Issues is part of the UnspokenDecade.com, the home for 90s comics, blogs, and podcasts. Unspoken Issues also has a Facebook group you can join if you are interested. Just search the Unspoken Issues podcast and request to join. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.